In this video, we're going to answer the question, can you go to jail for owing debt? So stay tuned, bankruptcy bailout buddies. All right, welcome debtors and borrowers to Bankruptcy Bailout, because debt ruins lives, not bankruptcy. My name is Matt Burkus, Colorado bankruptcy and debt relief attorney, and today we're going to answer the question, can you go to jail if you owe debt? So let me put your mind at ease and give you the short 99% answer, and that answer is no. You're not going to go to jail if you're behind on your debt. So I imagine if you're watching this video, you're most likely haven't paid your bills in quite some time, probably years, and the question is can you end up in jail if you owe debt? Well, the answer to that question is going to depend to some degree on the type of debt owed. So let's break it down by type of debt and then whether there's a chance you could go to jail in the US for owing the debt. So the main one that most people, or that people could go to jail for, is back child support. So if you owe back child support, there is a chance that you could be put in jail if you fall behind. However, as many a scorned ex-spouse will say, it's still pretty rare, because in order to put you in jail for back child support, your non-payment of that child support has to be willful and intentional. All right, so if you just don't have the ability to pay, you're not really going to end up in jail. You have to really be trying to avoid child support, and then it's still going to take many years before the court gets to the point of holding you in contempt of court for non-payment of back child support and then issuing a warrant for your arrest. Okay, so for back child support, that debt has the highest probability of putting you in jail, but even that possibility is pretty small. Okay, what about debts owed to the government? IRS, student loans. Very, very uncommon. You're not going to go to jail for owing, for being behind on your student loans, and for that matter, even for being behind on your taxes. However, there will come a point in time with the tax debt when owing tax goes from just not being able to pay because you don't have the money into turning into, willful evasion of taxes. All right. So, for example, if every single year when you file your taxes you owe and you just don't pay, and you start stacking up those years, year after year after year, that starts to look like tax evasion and not just some person who's, I can't afford to pay this year and try to get on some sort of payment plan. Again, small possibility, but again, your non-payment has to be willful and intentional before they will consider any type of legal action that could result in you being incarcerated. All right, so now let's talk about your normal debts. So we're talking about credit cards, payday loans, repossessed car loans, your typical consumer debts. Now, before we get anywhere close to even the remote possibility of being put in jail, the creditor has to sue you first and get a judgment. All right, so they have to sue you in civil court, get a judgment against you, and even then, you're not going to end up in jail. But there is this roundabout way where a bench warrant could be issued. Now, I don't want to scare you because this is, again, highly uncommon and no one really enforces this, but here's how it happens, right? It's not the debt itself. It's not the fact that you owe the debt that's going to put you in jail. What happens is, as soon as the creditor gets the judgment, they're going to issue what's typically called in most states post-judgment interrogatories, which is basically a type of deposition to try to get financial information about you, right? They want to know where you work, where you bank, and the obvious reasons they want that information is so they can issue levies against your bank and garnish wages. Now, of course, you're not going to want to give them that information. However, the problem is those interrogatories, basically just questions, but that questionnaire is a court subpoena. And if you don't comply with a court subpoena, with those post-judgment interrogatories, then you can be held in contempt of court. And in most states, if you're going to be held in contempt of court, that results in a bench warrant being issued. Now, I've never heard of a sheriff actually going out to arrest someone on one of these little $500 contempt of court bench warrants. However, if you happen to get pulled over, or if someone runs a background check, this bench warrant's going to come up. Okay? So what do you do then? Well, my advice is don't bury your head in the sand that long, right? I mean, at the very least, the trigger for you to start proactively dealing with the situation is when you get sued. Now, hopefully before that, right? Because you're going to go 2, 3, 4 years before someone actually sues you. I mean, that's 4 years of non-payment. So there's an issue. And the best advice is to be proactive and not reactive. So most people who end up in this situation of being sued by debt, they should have filed bankruptcy years ago and just unloaded the hassle, unloaded the stress, and unloaded their debt. But here you are, someone's suing you. Maybe they already have a judgment against you, and if they do, it's still not too late to file bankruptcy. Okay? But again, the risk of being put in jail for your typical consumer debt is super small. Super, super small. So I wouldn't worry about it for most people. Again, so your highest risk, back child support, if your failure to pay is willful and intentional. In other words, you have the ability to pay and you're choosing not to. Right? Yeah, you'll get it. You'll be put in jail for that. IRS-backed taxes, again, remote possibility. But if you start stacking year after year after year of taxes and you're just not paying, you're one of those, income taxes illegal type folk, maybe. That turns into willful tax evasion, and that becomes something you can be incarcerated for. And then for your regular consumer debts, again, it's not the debt itself that's going to get you put in jail, but if the debt gets so out of hand where they get a judgment against you and then they try to do post-judgment interrogatories, basically subpoena you for financial information, and you don't respond to that subpoena, that may yield contempt of court, and the remedy for contempt of court is going to be some sort of bench warrant issued for your arrest, and you can be temporarily incarcerated until you can pay the bond, which will be the debt, to get out of jail. It's uncommon. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this discussion. Again, my name is Matt Burkus, Colorado bankruptcy and debt relief attorney. Don't let it go. Don't let your debts go too far. Call a bankruptcy attorney, schedule a consultation. They're typically free. I offer free phone consultations to residents of Colorado, and be proactive and resolve your debt. Take care and good luck.